Yeah.
Let's go. I think you're going to be looking for a champion in Marcel rather than me.
Okay. I'm kind of in the middle. I think there's some things I really liked. There's some questions I have. I can't say there's anything that I hated.
No.
But we're gonna wait until we'll let the masses gather.
Yeah, we'll do one at a time because I think we can just
yeah.
There's so many different points we can go one at a
We
time. And
may
I
as
think
well go chronological order because everything's going to be a mess if we don't.
Yeah.
Because there's things that I like. There's things that I think are good. There's things that I think are just terrible, like god awful.
All right,
So
share. Dion, you want me to send me
a little bit
the
of everything.
email you would prefer me to send it to?
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say it out loud. Give me a second.
Discord. Yeah, don't say it out
loud. Here, go ahead and do this one. Hi, everybody. People who are stepping in. We're about to get started.
Dark Side Marcel showing up.
All right, there we go.
All right. Copy.
Broadside, we're gonna have probably the longest discussion about that. Don't worry.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I'm pulling up the Twitch chat. Oh my God, is it on fire? It's probably on fire, isn't it?
It's fine.
No,
it's fine.
is it okay?
It's moving.
It's people got
it's moving.
Opinions. That's for sure.
It's moving, but it's kind of a normal GSP movement right now.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All
This
right.
with a little bit more giddy up.
We got.
how do you do the hype train? What do you got to do in order to hype?
I think it's when people are like subbing in a row, then there's a lot of people who are kind of jumping in at once.
Dion, let me know if for any reason you didn't get that share correctly.
All right,
you
cool.
Should have something.
All right, everybody. Well, if you're tuning in right now, you probably were watching the AMG panel just like we were, and we're going to share our thoughts. I will tell you, in the initial, we were all in the same room, kind of silently listening to each other. But when we started talking to each other, we figured out that we're kind of all in different places, and you're going to get, likely your opinion will be heard at some point in this. And we'll probably debate it a little bit, but I mean that's the whole point of this show. Is we're gonna have some different opinions on stuff, and that's okay. That's okay. All right. Well, so let's go ahead and get started. They started with talking about when. Let's see. Hold on. My notes are all over the place. All right. So the next wave of stuff, the next thing we're going to expect for that for the Razor Crest, they said Q1 2022, and that we should be getting the newest points in about a week or so. Okay. So and that they also said new documents. So whatever that means, we don't know. Where are they going to be? That we also don't know. I'm assuming they're going to be on FFG. We'll start by talking about the Razor Crest. I think that's something we can all kind of we can hold each other's hands there, and we can fight later. Okay, so the Razor Crest. I'll go ahead and pull up. Some pics here. Thank you again, Ryan, for getting these organized. Way better organized than what I had it.
Yeah, I numbered them, and they should have names. It's just one missing number because I thought they would eventually show one of the ships we're going to talk about.
Right. They're like, no, I'm not going to show you anything. All right. So here we go. We have the Razor Crest. Let's get all this text out of Ryan's face. Give me one moment to do that. Bam. Okay. So Ryan, we got 3 hull. 2 agility, 7 hull, 2 shields, focus, evade, lock, barrel roll. Let's talk about just the base chassis. What do we think? Does this meet our expectations? Medium base? How are you feeling?
Too.
Yeah, red roll. What are you thinking, Ryan? Do you like it?
Seems very Razor Crest to me. Like 3-die attack, big guns, 2 agility. Seem not a 1 agility ship. A lot of health. Yes, seems Chemogilla health-esque, which is what it's compared to, just 1 more agility. And it's got a decent action suite, with including an evade, which is pretty helpful too, to take care of those blanks on defense. Mm-hmm. The always normal focus, got the target lock, and the red barrels. So this, because of the additional evade, you can kind of look at this as how much would it cost to add an agility for an entire game onto a Chemogilla
Yep.
and have an evade action?
Yeah, Marcel, what are your thoughts on the actual ability? While you defend or perform an attack, if you are in the front arc at range 1 to 2 of 2 or more enemy ships, you may change one of your blank results to a focus result. This is Sir Joust-a-lot.
Yeah, I mean, as an ability, it's good. It's kind of Boba-esque in a way, so that basically come Joust, Mr. Jousty Pants, coming in. It's a big X-wing with with a Kimojila dial and an evade. and yeah, like I think we're gonna get to it, but yeah, I see a little bit of a disconnect with 2 agility and only straight blues. It feels like there's a thematic disconnect, because usually agility means you can move around and you've got a good dial. So that's the way I associate it. Like, if you have a good dial and you're maneuverable, you've got a lot of agility. This thing does not appear to be very maneuverable based on its style, or based on the colors on the dial. I think the dial is good just based on colors on the dial. But yeah, what were we talking about? The ability. Yeah, the ability is very, very, very Boba-esque, and it works well with Boba. I assume it has a crew, so maybe some perceptive co-pilot, or throw some crew with the Force in there to just make more use of the ability. So it should be pretty solid.
All right. And then, Will, let's go ahead and, oh, wait, I missed the dial. Back. Where's my dial? I lost it. It's in the folder somewhere.
Should be the first one.
I broke it. Panic. False? Please hold. There is no 01, Stanny. There is no 01.
They're all
there is for me.
Calm down.
What did you do?
I broke it. Oh, there it is. All right.
Refresh.
Cool. Just refresh it. All right. Will, what are your thoughts on this dial?
All right. I'm waiting for it to be on the screen. Okay. So as they mentioned during the stream, your only blues are straights. You got the 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4. As all your straights are blue. All your banks are white. 1, 2, and 3. You got hard turns. This actually reminds me of like a Ghost or a Upsilon. We got the hard 1s and the hard 3s are red. And you got that big O 5K and a red stomp. I think the important things are that 5K. If you got a front arc only weapon, you are gonna struggle without a K turn or a another arc essentially. Gonna have to be something to deal with that stress. That is either like something like L3 crew, or just go full force and like fearless and just don't worry about actions anymore. Right? The 2 Talon rolls really tight on it though. That was the other turnaround it has, is the 2 Talon roll. We've seen fire sprays. I mean, a lot of people comparing this already to the fire spray, very similar stat line with the 2 agility throughout the front. And we see those utilize the Talon rolls quite often, so that could be a tool for it. What do I want to say? I look at ships differently when they only have 1 turnaround maneuver, so I'm glad to see this one has 2. But I think, I don't think you'd be flying this thing too fancy. This is going to be Jousty Boy.
Yeah, and
forward, let's go.
And I think that was
5K.
I think that was their vision. You know, you look at Din's ability, and though look at this, the 5K and the stop on there makes me go, where am I going? You don't really know. And I think maybe the vision was to make it less predictable. Even though, yes, I know that there's no bank blues, and I see some people reacting to that. Oh, where's more of my bank blues? At least when you're not stressed, when you're going to do one of those red maneuvers, at least you have them available. Because that's kind of when we've watched the show, he's put some stress on that ship. and it's when he does some crazy stuff. So kind of having those two extremes kind of makes me feel that way.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to fly more like the Shadowcaster than the Fire Spray, without the boost and with that big K-turn, the front arc only. So expect that kind of flight pattern with
Not
this base.
the Shadowcaster. Shadowcaster has 3 blues and 3 blue reds.
Still,
I mean, it's way different.
it still comes in hot and joust, and then 5
It comes in hot,
behind
but it's not. I mean, the Shadowcaster has probably the most forgiving big base style in the game. So this is not that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to compete about the best, Marcel.
For big base, I mean, which other large base has so many blues?
None, 0. Hey,
Yeah,
man,
you're right, but the Shadowcaster also can't move slow. Like the Shadowcaster, it only moves
this
fast.
one's stopping and doing a one.
Yeah.
And
it's a medium base, by the way. Anybody who didn't catch that, it's a medium base.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Confirmed. All right. Well, that's that. And then we got the Child. The Child. Now, check this out. Imperial, Rebel, and Scum. I know the first thing I saw when I saw this was I'm a little worried that this kind of has Zam feels just a little bit when you start, and who's the coordinator? There you go. You know, when you start spreading cards to other factions, dangerous things can happen. But so 2 Force crew, that alone seems pretty cool. During setup, after placing forces, choose an opponent. What? So like choose a ship. I'm assuming an enemy ship is probably. Or choose an opponent. I guess you know what? If they're saying an opponent, if you're in like a 4-person game, I guess this kind of opens that up, right? Okay.
Future
there you go.
Yep.
Future proof. All right. Smart design. They assign the Merciless Pursuit condition to 2 of their ships. That's paragraph 1. Paragraph 2. You lose force. Your force lose the recurring icon after you defend. If you suffered damage during that turn, recovered 1 force. Oh yeah, I didn't even notice. It didn't have the little recurring arrows
he gets
there.
Sleepy.
He's so tired.
You called that, didn't you, Ryan?
I did.
Yeah, I was really hoping he just wouldn't have recur charge it, but it is interesting ways to get it back. Whether or not 2 force or 1 force is the right call. I mean, they're going to point it accordingly as necessary for the 2 instead of the 1. But obviously, as well, it's not recurring. It gets sleepy.
Yep.
Until you suffer damage from an attack.
Yep. Very Maul-esque in that regard, without the negative of taking stress.
Yep. And a couple folks pointed out that it's kind of like hate, just a little bit.
Oh yeah, hate as well.
And then it assigns that Merciless Pursuit condition. Oh, what am I hearing right now? Oh, sorry. Sorry, the AMG stream, I still had it in another tab. They're starting to talk about painting. Merciless Pursuit. After you perform an attack, if the defender is equipped with the Child, you may acquire a lock on the defender. Now, do note that if we go back and look at this crew card, that when you choose your opponent, so if you're playing a 2-person game, your enemy, the other person you're playing against, gets to choose. They get to choose the ships that are going to be able to gain target locks on the Child's ride, whoever that is. So here's my question to you guys. Obviously, we know that the Force is good, but in this, it's limited in his capacity. Are we expecting this to be pretty cheap compared to the Force crew that we have?
What's the cheapest Force crew? 9 points right now, I think, for Seven Sister. It
is reoccurring normally. This one obviously is 2, and that Merciless Pursuit, that's actually that's a real drawback.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a Zam in there.
You're giving 2 of your opponent's ships free target locks. Let me double check when after you
attack.
So old school 1st edition FCS.
Yes.
And it's acquire locks, so it can even be on ships that don't normally get locks, a la Suntir Fel, for example.
Can be stressed as well. Can be stressed.
Yeah, they can be stressed. It's just acquire. It's not take lock action.
Well, you can't do it on Sinterfell. How are you going to throw the child in there?
No,
the merciless.
condition.
Huh?
So,
Go ahead, Brian.
the child says you need to pick an opponent.
Okay.
So let's just say you versus me,
Okay.
and I have the child.
Yep.
I say you're the opponent, and you get to pick 2 of your ships to put that Merciless Pursuit condition on. So Soontir Fel, for example, if you were flying him, could, after he performs an attack, if the defender is equipped with the child, so if you're shooting at my ship with the child, Soontir gets the target lock.
Oh, wait. So that's a negative.
Yes.
That is a negative.
That's
This
a
is a
negative.
negative. This is not a
That's a
positive
big
thing for you
negative.
on the condition.
Oh, I was thinking that the other way around, that if I equipped Baby
No,
Yoda, then
Merciless Pursuit. They want the child.
Oh, God. Yeah,
I would like to see the
that's
child.
bad.
Yeah, I mean this, and here's the other kicker, right? It says you. So here's my understanding. Okay, your force charges lose the recurring icon. That means if you place this on a ship that already has the force, like Asajj, her force
Correct.
aren't reoccurring anymore.
Oh, so it's
They're gone.
definitely dissuading you from putting it on someone who already has the force.
Right.
Now there are those new cards that are giving you like recover 2 force if this happens, if you cancel this. So I mean, there's other alternative ways that, not only that hate, and then again those new cards that are kind of that they announced recently or revealed recently that allow you to charge up a couple force at a time. So there's ways around it, but it's all in all, it seems like a more negative than a positive.
Yeah. So what I'm looking at it as, it's a crew that you're going to put on something that doesn't have the force already. If it's cheap enough, it's 2 calculates, maybe 3, because whenever you're attacked, you get to recover that force. And I guess, you know what? If you're getting attacked by multiple ships, of course, you have to have suffered damage. It kind of has a Luke Skywalker-esque ability, because every time you suffer that damage, you're recurring a charge. So you're potentially mitigating damage through your dice rolls there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, and something. I mean, I think someone like Rack would be okay with it, right? Because no defense. You're usually reinforced anyway.
Yeah,
so you're
anything
only
with
suffering.
Reinforced is going to like
Yeah.
this.
So you're
And a lot
suffering,
of health.
usually only suffering 1 damage at a time. Yeah, you're giving people target locks, but I mean, Rack doesn't really care.
Yeah, I think it was Brenton. My thoughts go on the same way as Brenton Carr's said, that you could actually use this as an attention getter. That you fly out the child, and on some low-cost tanky ship, shoot maybe even something cheap like a quad jumper or like a non-multi-crow hawk, and you just go fly it off and see if you could distract your opponent long enough to get your real ships into position.
Using the child as bait. Noted, Will.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, I mean, those are the new cards that they showed here. They showed some art, which does look cool. I'm excited to see the Mando crew art, which is probably what that is going to be. And then they busted out. They kind of did this a little bit out of order. Here we go. So they started talking about the Gauntlet, all right, which I am honestly surprised that this ship is an X-Wing. I'm glad. It is a cool-looking ship. It's a giant Fang fighter, essentially, is what it is. Let's go ahead and break down that stat line, Will.
All right. This it's the Gauntlet Fighter. I about said Fang Fighter. Gauntlet Fighter has 3 dice at the front arc, 2 dice at the rear arc, 2 agility, 9 hull, and 2 shields, which I think makes it the highest natural 2 agility ship in the game. Has white focus, red reinforced, white lock, and red coordinate.
Now,
The red coordinate's the most interesting to me.
One thing I want to point out here real quick, if you guys look at this spread, you look at these colors. So this is right here, Republic, Scum, Rebels, Empire, and Separatists. You get a gauntlet. Everybody gets a gauntlet. The only thing we're not seeing there is resistance and first order because they're
It
later.
makes sense. Yeah, they're later on. You never see them at this point.
Yep. So everybody gets to play with the new toys.
Well, not only that, so you can see from the card text, since they're italicized, the 3 in the middle are generics, but not yet even the named one. So it's not just named one there, named one there, named one there. There's names and generics in some of these.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, and this will be the first large base ship for the Republic with at least Bo-Katan.
They just get one pie. This is what you get. You got one, Republic. Are you happy? Okay. Now we can play the all about that base variant because Republic can actually get a large base. So let's hit the dial. Let's hit the dial next. Marcel?
Chewing on some broccoli. So it's got a red stop. And it's a large base, so I think we did mention that already, right? I mean, they said it's like the largest ship in the physical ship that they have.
Physical, largest scale model without being an epic.
Yep. So it's got a red stop. It's got no one forward, so it's got 2 blue banks. Then it's got all of the 2. I mean, 1 blue banks. It's got all of the 2s, and then it has 3s. All of the 3s, but the 3 hards are red, and then the 4 forward was. So it's pretty fast. It's a really fast ship. Does not turn around, but it has a rear arc, so that's that. I think it's a really solid dial, minus the lack of a way to turn around easily.
I think we're probably going to end up with something similar to the U-wing, because this is it's like a landing craft, very similar in that sense, where wings go up and it kind of turns. We might end up seeing something U-wing-esque.
Oh, like being able to spin on the side.
Yeah.
We can end up seeing a cross between like a U-wing and a Lambda, because the Lambda's got that same 2-die rear arc as well, but obviously this one has the 2 agility, not the 1 agility. So just the platform itself, you can imagine, can be quite expensive, but big, strong, moderately maneuverable in terms of speed. It's definitely faster than Lambdas.
Mm-hmm. So my curiosity goes to, okay, so there's 5 of these, right? And they're the physically largest ships in there. I'm wondering, as far as how they're sold, if you're gonna have to buy 5 different factions and they're all gonna look differently, or
there's gonna be one pack.
They said that
one big box. Yeah, you can't sell multiple of these boxes.
They said people are going to be very interested in doing repaints of these because of all the factions.
Paint Wars, Gauntlet Edition, let's go.
Yeah, because I can see buying a couple of these, but not 5 of these.
Yeah. I mean, I doubt you're going to be able to fit.
Some people will.
maybe, but some Dion's will.
I mean, I have to. It's for Paint Wars. We got to do it. But anyway, you can see we have the 5 factions there. Let's go ahead and break down some abilities. Ryan, you want to go take a look at the Separatist Bo-Katan?
Bo-Katan Separatist is I-4. Vizsla's Lieutenant. Before a friendly ship at 0 to 2 activates, you may spend 1 charge, which this Bo-Katan has 1 reoccurring charge. If you do, that ship may gain 1 strain to remove 1 non-stress red or orange token. So if it can take a strain to remove something else, I don't know why you would take a strain to remove a strain, red or orange. So we've seen sort of this ability starting to show up in the Babu Freak that was shown in the Resistance, is holding off red and orange tokens. This and Babu's one of the only few ways right now for a ship to reload on the same turn and shoot. So they could take a strain to get rid of the disarm and still shoot even though a ship reloaded.
What do you think?
It'll be handy. It'll be very interesting to see how it all fits in together. I mean, this ship as it is with Bo-Katan as the pilot, it's another support-based ability along with the fact that it has a coordinate as well. So interested. I'd have to think of all the red and orange tokens that all my nice droids can get and which ones I might want to get rid of besides the disarm I mentioned from Reload.
Tractor beams, tractoring yourself.
Nantex tractors, you're right. Pull them
Nantex
off
tractoring.
onto the... Yeah.
But this would be before an enemy ship activates, so it wouldn't have that tractor token yet.
True. Yeah, so it wouldn't even have the reload yet either.
Correct. You would have to look at some system phase shenanigans.
Could remove ions.
It might just be more.
Ions are pretty annoying on droids.
You could also just like, if we have that FO coming in with their jamming suite, right? Be like, no, get that jam out of here. Maybe you have that timing. One moment.
Anti-jam tech or anti-target locks. Or no, it's non-stress.
Yeah, you can remove locks.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I think the best part about this ability is that it works on herself, not a peer support ability.
So I guess technically you could reload and still shoot in this phase, but they would have had to have activated, they would have had to been coordinated an action before they activate, which is very convoluted, but yes.
So it could work with 404. You could move Bo-Katan, coordinate him on reload, then he can move, and then you would clear the reload.
Sure.
Advanced protons for days. Let's go.
I was only Fenrau once before. Now I am Fenrau until I burn myself alive.
All right, and we had another Bo-Katan there. Take it, Will.
All right, this version is the Republic version. This one, same stat line says the other one was 4 and the like. After you fully execute a maneuver, you may gain 1 deplete token to choose an object in your front arc at range 1 to 2. If you do, another friendly ship may perform a target lock action on that object. So I'm imagining here Bo-Katan coming in for a big block on, say, an I-4 or above ship. You're not going to be able to shoot it, so you take the deplete token and then give a ship at... It just says if you do another friendly ship, so just another ship who could acquire that lock, so essentially range 3 of the person, that's range 2 of you, can pick up the lock. I don't like taking depletes on my ship who's got terrible time on target and is very expensive. But like I said, I feel like this is better for blocking, or if you're setting up like a proton torpedo or something. I'm trying to think of who in the Republic really loves target locks. Baby Annie, maybe? Loves little locks.
Do we have any way to get rid of that deplete? I'm just thinking like comboing.
That's called Hound.
Yeah.
Is Hound only strain?
No, Hound is strain or deplete. It's both.
Yeah.
Because Hound I've looked at with patience before.
Hound meta.
Plo is only orange, right?
Plo takes an orange or gives a green.
Okay,
Correct.
so no reds. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right.
I mean,
force
you are
charges
also
making-
telling if you do another friendly ship may perform a lock action, if that ship normally wouldn't want to say, I don't feel like spending my force to do a lock action a la Ada's, they can get a lock action without doing that.
That's a good point. That is a good point. All right. Well, we're excited to see what ends up happening here. You could see one thing I'm curious about, guys. Check this out. We see that there is probably this looks like a generic pilot that has a unique.
I bet it has 2 or pips underneath it there to point it appropriately. So you can't run 3 of these things.
Yeah, exactly. But you notice that the scum one, it's generic, and that one is not pipped. So,
But it also potentially has a lot of words because that is a very crunched together S on the corner there.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say the text is all narrative because there's 2 different fonts. These are descriptive narrative text, whereas you see Bo-Katan in this fan is the only ships with abilities.
You could assume with the potential numbered pips, because it's a, like you said, italicized narrative, it does say clan crease off the edge. So you're assuming that this is like Mandalorian crease family member, clan crease pilot, clan crease commando, something like that, and you can only have, say, 2 or 3.
All right. So with these, I know some people are asking about the release date for these. This is they said Q1 2022 is their hope. Of course, shipping it and manufacturing is running behind all over the world, so we kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. Early 2022, first half. Let's call it first half. And if it lands before June, we'll call that on time. And then they had also said, I am very curious about this. So we got remotes, we got new remotes, and apparently there's other ones. Maybe there's one for each faction, since we got 5 different factions for this, the Gauntlet. Mandalorian Super Commandos. Mandos in space. All right, so they're going to be moving around on the board or something like here. After an enemy ship overlaps you, it gains 1 strain token. So they've grabbed onto the ship. During the activation phase, at the start of this phase, you may relocate forward using the 1 hard or the 2 straight template. And during the engagement phase, you cannot attack if there are enemy ships at range 0. So if you are connected to a ship, to perform an attack, you must spend 1 charge. While you perform an attack, you may change 1 focus result to a hit result. That means that when these things are floating around, they're going to have a firing arc, and they can attack themselves if they're not attached to a ship at that time. That's interesting.
At Initiative 2, yeah.
At Initiative 2, yes.
Man, being Initiative killed by Space Mandos is going to be real bad. Oh, man.
Wait,
Well, I mean, they
does
should
the swarm
work on-
tactics say ship?
That's what I was saying. Like,
I believe it says ship, but let's double check it.
Hope.
We do have a correction that we were
It is
wrong
friendly
about Hound.
ship. Swarm
Yeah, Hound
tactics
is-
is friendly ship. What do you mean wrong about Hound?
It's small ship only. It calls it out.
Got
The
it.
small ship part.
We just
not-
never tried to take
not the
strains off
focus
of
type.
arcs or
Yeah.
lats because they're 1 agility, and
And
that's
we didn't have a big base before yet.
so they didn't show. So because it's a remote, does that mean it counts as a device? Like you launch it like a device, or did they say how
Some
you?
capability, yeah. I assume there's going to be an upgrade card that tells you how to launch it, because this would be like the remote health card, like the actual probe droid or the buzz droid, not say
Yeah.
the Discord missile.
Yeah,
Did the Discord missiles have a faction to them? I
Also-
didn't think that they had a
No,
faction.
but I assume this needs faction because the ship itself is multi-faction.
Also, another thing that
Oh.
to I think we should consider is it's got an A, Super Commandos A. So that
Yeah.
there's not a pip, but is that kind of like a
It's a really good
is
question.
it possible that there can be Super Commandos B, and then either
Yeah.
you can only have separate ones, or that they have a different ability, like they have a different activation phase and engagement phase? I mean,
I could see that they would have ones for Clone Wars era. The Mandalorians had clans in for both Separatist and Republic, so I could see those being. They're all named Mandalorian Super Commandos, but the upgrade card would tell you which one you use.
Yep.
And probably there would be faction locked.
And
as well
AMG
to help
also
out.
AMG also noted that this is going to be a double crew slot, which makes sense, right? You're like sending
Yeah.
out a squad of people.
so maybe
another-
that's where the A and B comes out. It's double crew, but when you release them, you release 2 different ones.
Oh, that's
Maybe.
that's a good point. That's a good point. All right.
Okay, yeah.
Also, with a couple of other things with the attack. Okay, it's going to be a 2 attack die. It has the missile icon, so no range bonus. It's always 2. Always 2. So at range 1, it's only going to be 2 dice, and if they can't fire at range 3, so it doesn't matter. But it's always going to be 2 dice, and they can only attack twice. Is another thing. They can only attack twice. You see the charges there are non-recurring unless you have some way to recur
they can
the
only
charge.
attack twice, but their ability of straining and basically positioning yourself in front of a ship at Initiative 2 Oh no, it's at the start of the phase. So even at the start of activation, putting yourself even in front of an initiative 1 base. I mean, you can just basically
No,
say
it's activation phase. You move. It's after an enemy ship overlaps you. It gets a straight.
true, but what I'm saying is you can move yourself to be in front of a ship, so it
Yep.
overlaps you.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah, it's still a nuisance out there. I mean, there's still flying people with Beskar armor out there. You know, some pilots might be pretty scared of that.
Yeah.
Just bumping
Yeah.
around. And then that's their soccer.
All right, cool. Yeah, there's it's new and interesting. They said they're gonna, they had some curveball for us, and this is something I absolutely was not expecting. Okay, was not expecting. I did see somebody in the AMG chat say, "Wait a second, Mandalorian suits are pressurized?" ? Sure, why not?
I mean, Super Commando ones are.
There you
Clone
go.
Trooper ones have been. Like,
Bam.
I think we've seen plenty of normal looking body armor suits in Star Wars used on the ground, also used in space.
I'm pretty sure we saw Kanan in Rebels jump out of a gauntlet into a space station in plain clothes. I'm pretty sure we saw that.
So
I remember that.
So wait, now Dion, you went there, and now I have to ask: can we get a Leia Organa space
Yes!
Mary Poppins remote?
Resistance
Come on.
only. Let's go.
Let's go.
It's coming. They're
tiny
setting us
Leia
up for
around.
it.
If only we get the spinning Sidious.
Yeah,
that
I'm
would
in.
work.
I'm in for that too. All of it. All of it. All right, so there's some of the Fang Fighter art, and they showed us that because they said that they're coming out with a card pack that has, they called it the Pride of Mandalore. We're going to get Fang Fighters and TIE Fighters that are going to be updated. I think, here we go. This is the ISB Jin Joist, the Heartless Enforcer, Initiative 4. Marcel, go ahead and take it.
All right. So TIE Fighter, it's before you engage, you may choose one enemy ship in your front arc at range 0 to 1. If you do, that ship gains 1 deplete or strain token of your choice, unless it chooses to remove a green token. That's actually, and it's at an awesome, and it's 2 pips, so you get to put 2 of these ships out there. It's a great initiative to make that choice. Initiative 4 to basically say, if you don't have a token, I'm going to choose, and if you do have a token, you can either jam yourself and allow me to shoot you with strained, or if you're shooting after me and I don't think I can kill you, basically say you're going to be, I mean, this kind of works a little bit like Concordia in that way. I mean, in a one-time Concordia. It's pretty cool. It's a really good ability. No complaints.
All right, so excited to get more TIE Fighters. That should load up here in a second. Sabine, of course. More Sabine. You cannot ever have more Sabine. There we go. So we're going to get a new Fen Rao. Will, you've been flying a lot of Fen Rao lately. What are your takes on the Rebellion version of Fen Rao?
All right, so notable difference here is just the pilot ability. Everything else stays the same. I'm double checking it now to see if I'm eating crow on that. Nope, everything's the exact same. I was reading Concordia Face Off, and yep, it is the same. So the ability says, before a friendly ship at range 1 to 2 engages, if there is a enemy ship in... I just looked that up, Dion.
Sorry.
They hate people from outside their borders. That's what Jijonness means. Which is kind of like nationalism, kind of ish. I don't know. It's standard imperial thought process.
Got it.
But I did look it up as well. Anyways, back to this pilot ability. If there's an enemy ship in its front arc at range 1, that friendly ship may remove 1 non-lock red token. So this is super easy. So Fen Rao moves up, tries to do the Concordia face-off. He's got a ship right in front of him. Oh no, this is before a friendly ship at range 0 to 2 engages.
1 to 2.
Sorry. I know. You understand my confusion. So it's not Fen Rao. He cannot do this. Just like most people who have converted into rebels from other factions, i.e. Sokatano, this ability can only be used on friendly ships. So that ship still has to be range 1 looking at the enemy, though. And then they get to strip their lock. I mean, this seems like a natural pairing with Sabine A-Wing.
Non-lock red
Non-lock.
token.
So
Oh,
stress
sorry.
or
I'm
got excited.
I'm screwing it all up. I am very excited. But stress. Well, because everything used to be non-stress. Now it's non-lock in this particular ability. But yeah, dive Sabine in, focus boost. When she engages, shreds a red token. I think this could be pretty valuable for a lot of rebels, though I feel like his price has to be a lot lower without that 4th defense die at range 1.
yeah.
Yep.
Somebody in the chat, who was it? Benfet in the chat just said double Janors. Fenrau comes in, turns Fenrau into Scum Fenrau by giving it a 5th die, stresses itself, and then
She engages.
she engages, takes the stress off, and then when somebody else comes in at a lower initiative or 5 again, then you do it again. Double that.
All right, there you go.
He's gonna be this Fenrir's gonna like having A-wing friends for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Hera, here's a lock too. Take it.
Yeah,
You got the squad already built. You got Jan, Fen Rao, Hera. You maybe got space for one more. We'll see what you get.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
All right, so we're gonna get more Sabine. All right, what don't we have Sabine? We don't have Sabine. Well, we have Sabine Crew.
Rebel
we have
Fang.
Sabine Gunner.
Yeah, Rebel Fang.
Rebel Fang, yeah.
Rebel Fang. I guess that's it, right?
I mean, she could fly the Ghost. I don't know if she actually ever does in the show. She would normally shoot the gun, if anything.
Could be Gauntlet Sabine.
Okay.
Yeah, Crew Sabine for the Gauntlet for Rebels. We already have a Rebel Crew and a Rebel Gunner, don't we? So
I'm gonna guess probably the Fang Fighter. It's probably the easy choice, right?
yeah,
Fang Fighter Sabine, possible, maybe. We'll see. And then they busted out this art. So I'm assuming we're going to see some of the TIE fighters that are part of this card pack that we're talking about. By the way, anybody who's joining us here, AMG confirmed card pack coming in, Pride of the Mandalore. We're getting Fang Fighter pilots and TIE Fighter pilots. And this is likely one of the pieces of art that's going to be in that. All right. So that was basically the new stuff. And then the new release. Then we're going to get into the organized play section. And I think this is where we're going to start getting a little salty, okay? At least in some places. For some people, maybe. I have some interesting thoughts and things. We're going to go step by step. First, Worlds, they said, they're for sure, they said, we're not doing any OP from January, first half of 2022. But then they followed it up by saying, actually, we'll be at Adepticon. So, interesting being that, I mean, I'm not calling AMG out, but literally, I am the guy tasked by Adepticon to plan for X-Wing. So, cool.
I was very confused by that.
I was confused, so I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That's a lack of communication.
They have not communicated that to Adepticon yet. So,
oh, really? Yeah.
So it's fine. You know what though? It's okay. It's okay. I'm ready and waiting to be there to help them out to make sure that it's successful. All right.
I mean, biggest fear is some sort of competing tournaments. Which
ain't nobody got time for that.
This is not going to work out.
Unless it's all like narrative stuff.
Yeah, that would be different. Yeah.
Well, no, they said they're going to do narrative stuff, but they also said there's going to be competitive play, which we'll get back to competitive play in a minute because I know you guys. I know you guys want to talk about it. We'll get there. We'll get there. They also talked about this Aces High pack, which I think is interesting to have the upgrades on it. I will say that's not a new thing. These are we had cards like this that came out really early in second edition. That it was quick builds. They just had the quick build cards in it. But these are now going to be specific for Aces High. I did see everybody, including myself, tagging them and like, guys, I don't know if you know, the attack values on that 8-2 are not quite right. So it's supposed to be 3 bullseye, 2 front arc. Easily fixable, and if they went to print already, guys, when you get it in person, just play it the right way. It's not a big deal. At least the card looks cool, and maybe if they fix it later on and you find one that's actually wrong, it'll be, it's like, hey, you got that misprint. That's awesome. But yeah, they said a 4-pilot free for all, and they're also doing a droid ball. Okay, droid ball 2022. Though I will say, I know some people were like, "Oh, that seems dumb." I did see that. That's actually super fun. Early on, late in first edition, I was part of a group of people that did a bunch of objectives. And if you go dig back through that, one of the objective games that we created was a type of soccer scenario mission. It was really fun. It's actually really fun. If you haven't, don't knock it till you try it on that one. I will tell you. Did you guys, Will, Marcel, and Ryan, did you guys ever get to try that one?
I did not.
I played it once. We did a local league where each week we would just play one of those scenarios to kind of keep it interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we played that one. I don't remember very much because that was first edition.
Yeah, I mean, it was a long time ago, but yeah, it's super fun. I'm curious to see what their rule set is, but I think it'll be great. Some people were being like Rocket Ball, Rocket League, Hut Ball, Guild Ball. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Ships, maneuver, find the ball, make it go your way, and get the W. Should be fine there. So, and that's their plan. They said 2022, that's going to be kind of in-store kit. So they hit some interesting levels. So they hit store level. They hit world. They're saying they can't announce anything from January to June, all right, the first half of 2022. They'll be at Adepticon, all right, which is great. And they're going to have Armada there as well. They also kind of just threw that in randomly. And now we're going to go ahead and get into the bigger things, all right? Because I know this is what you guys really want us to talk about. And I know there, because they're going to be a little bit more contentious. And that's the, I wrote on my notebook here, big change. So we'll start with the easy stuff. Points and rules changes, because there's going to be some rules changes, are coming at the end of September. So we got to wait a few weeks. That's the easy part. Then the next part is, I'm honestly not surprised, but the official squad builder is dead. It's done. Finito. Goodbye. Let's be honest. If you were a competitive player, you weren't using it. And if you watched my review on it when it came out, my review was not to use it, and it was a bad representation. It was confusing for new players. Yet another squad builder or Launch Bay Next. That's all I have to say. They've been doing an amazing job since the beginning, and we still have a squad builder. You're fine. The official PDFs, they said that's where the points are going to be. Cool. And I will tell you that they know that Yasby and Launch Bay Next exists, which is why I think they know that they can kind of like, it's not a huge deal. You'll be fine. All right? And who knows? Maybe they'll launch something digital in the future. They said they're going to focus on faction identity a lot. And now let's go ahead to the first big one. They said there's going to be a big core rule change. Okay? They said that the end of the game, they said it was originally ambiguous. And I know I saw a bunch of people, guys, yelling out 75. There's always been 75 minutes. I'm gonna put a big stop sign for you. Go open the core set rulebook. There is not a 75-minute timer on there. There is. They said until full destruction on there. My understanding, for right now, is that in just those base rules, those people who are not playing in a tournament, 12 rounds is the end of the game. I think that's the first thing. Okay? That is the first thing. I want to just kind of calm people down there. They're like, oh, the tournament. How are you going to run a tournament? I think there might be a different change to tournament play, but let's go ahead. Let's talk about this a little bit. Marcel, 12 rounds for a non-tournament game. Thoughts?
So I'm still not a fan. I think it's fine for kitchen table with you barely picked up the game, you don't know anything, and you just read the rules and you're just trying to play at home with like somebody at home. Makes sense, right? Because I get your point. It's ambiguous. Now, I don't like it even for non-tournament play, but for reasons like, let's say, league night. Most places at league night, they're very, you show up at 6 p.m., you're leaving at 10 p.m. You know the length of the games, and you're like, okay, we know that first game starting around 6 o'clock, ending around 7:30. Second game starting around 7:45. We'll be gone at like 9:15, then clean up and be gone before 10 o'clock. Like, that's set, right? What this does is it changes the length of the games to where you could be playing again if you're flying, Steve Cotillo's list. If you're flying Gorin and bumping strikers, those 12 rounds are going to take you 2.5, 3 hours to play, or destruction. So I think it makes league night, even in those situations. I'm not even going to say league night, just times where you're trying to get multiple games and coordinate multiple people playing different people at the same time. So any of those scenarios, I think, is where it misses the mark. But otherwise, like, again, I don't really care in terms of like, because when you're at home, you're basically either playing till you're bored, till you think somebody has the advantage. It's like, okay, I think you got it. Let's reset. So I don't think it has that. So I like it for first time people that are picking it up. I don't like it for any form of organized play, including leagues and league nights and stuff like that.
All right. So what Marcel is softly asking me is to implement a blanket rule that at past times we still play 75 minutes. I think that's what he's asking for. And
that'd be nice.
And that's probably where we're going to end up to be at, to be completely honest. We got to talk to everybody, make sure everybody agrees. But I do agree because we it's pseudo. It's not really a tournament when we're playing on our league nights, but it's pseudo, like people expect to be able to move through games, and I totally understand that part of it. And I think probably when they were looking at the rule set, they were thinking about the person who picks up the box and takes it home and wants to play with their significant other, their kid, or a friend. It's probably what they're thinking about. But yeah, be free in your casual, in your personal leagues to change it up a little bit. Of course, if the tournament rules are different, which we're going to talk about that in a little bit, then that's maybe where we end up seeing some changes. Will, you have any thoughts on 12 rounds?
Well, they were correct that's what we found out is the average length. So that's good to hear. I mean, for casual games, it's probably going to be a boom. Like, I can only repeat what Will said, that there is just like no determining thing. So it is nice to have a finishing thing, but I don't think it will. Like, I personally don't feel like affecting tournament play, or even what do I say? If you are kitchen table, you probably weren't reading the rules in the first place. So you're going to continue to do what you want to do, which is the whole point of that casual play. But yeah, no, this is definitely for like what you're talking about, of like more in that weird gray area of structured casual.
Right. Now, one thing I want to, Will, you just pointed it out. I can't say who, But I was asked by several sources, Dion, can we double check that research you did? And I was like, here you go. So for anybody who doesn't know, I had done a major research project. It was also backed up by Patrick of Recon Specialist TV, that the average number of rounds, at least this was like early second edition and end of first edition, was around 11 point and numbers rounds. So it looks like they just decided, hey, so they had the devs had my information. And they said, let's bump it up to 12 to give everybody just a little bit more time for that completion. So I want to say you're welcome, and we'll continue. We'll continue.
Yeah.
They also said nine rounds was possible if you wanted to kind of turn it down. Where does 9 come from? I will tell you our current average, at least before we went into COVID, was 9. And then 15, I think they just went +3 on the 12. It kind of fits nice. 9, 12, 15. All right. Now, Ryan, I'm gonna jump to you here. Bids, they're gone. Thoughts?
Oh, I don't get an opinion on the rounds.
Oh, I'm sorry. yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, so it's going to echo. So moderate spoiler for me. This is the only suspect thing for me. Just because how they talked about it felt moderately counterintuitive, like, and that's why everyone was probably mashing 75 minutes. It's like, I don't get. For me, there's no difference to a more concluded game, whether it's 75 minutes or 12 rounds. They're both set limits, and either one of them could have a set conclusion more than another. So that was the only confusing part to me on the developer talking aspects. I will say throughout this entire stream, when they were all talking, especially Plumber talking about how he developed these certain modes and OP and rules going forward, very eloquent. You can tell he knows what he's talking about, and there's a direction that they want to take the game, which may be polarizing other people. But I think he does speak eloquently. He's really smart about game development. So, but in terms of the round timer, it just seemed like kind of like back and forth in terms of like, I get what you're trying to do, but I think it doesn't accomplish what you're looking for. We'll see.
Yeah.
Right? We haven't implemented yet. Beyond, for people who've been part of it, Vassal Leagues had round-based timers instead of time-based ones for a long time. And they were
way too high, by the way. But
yeah, they were way too high before. But also on top of that, as they brought it down, they even switched it up to 60 minutes plus 2 guaranteed rounds once the 60 minutes was up, which I haven't played in the Vassal League since, but that when I did, it felt like a pretty solid direction. It still is a finite time or round limit that still doesn't determine a game either way. I mean, a lot of games are determined early on based upon the first couple engagements, but none of them feel more completed than they would currently do right now in comparison to what this is now promoting. Now, I'm going to ask a string of questions here, and it's mainly just so that like bang, bang, bang. I don't want to like immediate response. So, Dion, rules get dropped. They are put into place at the end of the month. What do we do the rest of the galaxies? For all those TOs out there, how do they make sure this keeps going at a certain pace? If AMG comes out and makes this official for most organized play, that you have the option for 9 rounds, 12 rounds, 15 rounds, and it kind of sets the standard that like, all right, maybe we choose the 9 rounds because it's hard to keep a day moving for a tournament. So like, how do you think TOs, especially for someone like you, Dion, who's done it all this time through this past year over and over, do you even think they'll have the capability to say, you know what, I get the round thing, but we got to keep things moving. I'm going to go back to time. Would official events even be able to do that for TOs?
That's a great question. So what I'm hoping that we get when the tournament rules come out, because I want to stress that the base rules and the tournament rules, different things. And yes, most of us play off the tournament rules. I get that. I'm hoping that at the very least they give us, the game ends at 75 minutes or at the end of the 12th round, whichever one comes first. But for a tournament, for the organization of a tournament, you have to have time, because the reality is that if you're doing something at a convention center, there's going to be a certain time where they say, hey, you got to get out. And if worst case scenario, the tournament rules say, oh, it's 12 rounds no matter what, there's a good chance that tournament doesn't even finish before the end of the day, or the end of the, the tournament size we see before the end of the convention. So you have to put a time limit on it. It is impractical not to. So my thought is that they're going to be, because you're right, I do think they do seem like smart people to me. And I would think that them who have run events, they've been a part of different organized play teams, they've seen what has worked. There has to be a time limit. That's the reason that we went from a no-timed final to a 2-hour final was because conventions started running over. Like that was the initial trigger for it. It's like, wait a second, we can't be paying fines to a convention because we don't know when the X-Wing final is going to go over. We're going to put a box on it, and now you have an amount of time that you can do. As for galaxies, that's a tough question to follow. I will tell you that there will be a time component, and that's like guaranteed. There's going to be a time component, whether they put out different tournament regulations or not. Like we have to. Like everybody can't be waiting around all day. It's impractical. Impractical. It's impractical for that. So, like.
And even Marcel said it's impractical to a degree of trying to even run a basic store night. The store closes at some point. Time has to move for rounds and official events. So they didn't say 100% of the rounds can be implemented across all things. They said as a baseline for the game. It sounds like from how they talked about other things, they're compartmentalizing more of casual scenario, any hybrid mix of competitive, whatever it is. There seems to be potentially separate rule sets that are going to help clarify it in the future as they develop it.
Let's see, I got a question here. So let's now move to my original question to you, Stanny. Bids, they gone. So for anybody who didn't catch that, once the rules are updated, essentially bidding doesn't get you anything whatsoever. Bidding doesn't get you anything.
Wrong.
But
bidding gets you negative points.
I was working up to it.
You said it doesn't get you anything.
It doesn't get you anything. It loses you stuff. Okay, so essentially,
I'm ready to
already.
But Marcel,
you said it's my turn. You said it's my turn. I have a bit.
That's right.
Today,
Ryan is the first player
of the bids. An end of an order that acquiesces to races to the bottom. At this very moment, in a system far from here, Soontirfell lies to the galaxy. This fierce 200-point list, which you have built, will bring an end to the bids, to their cherished player order. All remaining lists will bow to the full 200 lists. Fire!
Yes, absolutely. Now,
I prepared for that one.
I do think they may have misspoken, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that. And I tried to get them to clarify, and it didn't seem like they were paying too close attention to the chat. I mean, I don't blame them. There was a lot going on in there. But they had said that bids are going to be, or that the first player was going to be randomized. And I wonder... My question is that every game it's randomized and it's set for the entire game, or is the initiative switching? And that is one thing that we don't know.
I heard alternating. So I heard alternating, and
they didn't say the word alternating though. Like it never.
They did not.
Yeah, we are yet to fully clarify if it's random at the start of the game and then it stays that way, or if, like Marcel said, it alternates each round.
Okay. So, okay.
So,
My money's on alternating.
your money's, and that's what I'm saying. Like it seemed like they were. I'm gonna use the word, like they were bumbling the language when they were talking about that section. So I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out we get a clarification and it's switching. Like it's for right now, but I mean at worst,
the only word that they said the most was random, which
Right.
means I feel like there is no way to decide that. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. Like there's no correlation between who's first player and anything else.
right. I mean that definitely could be it. And so to go back to Stanley's speech, wonderful, by the way. I feel like I've heard it before.
I will give full credit to Chris Allen for that one. He wrote that one up as he was learning about it.
So bids, the bidding doesn't matter. So that means just bring your 200 squad, right? And I think what it's going to end up doing is while the initiative roll for your specific list could end up being important, it might take an emphasis off of initiative. Like bringing, I got to bring I6s. Or what are your, Marcel, you out of all of us fly the most aces, right? You're our ace master supreme. What are your thoughts on the no bids?
I like it. I think it's a good call, and I do think it's alternating. But even if it's random, I think I'd rather have it be alternating because so much relies on the bid that if that you can win or lose a game on one coin flip. I think if they're going just for making the bids not matter and the points not matter, giving both, especially if you're going with like, oh, we're gonna do even rounds, like giving people like, okay, we're gonna have 6 rounds, you get initiative in 6 rounds, which adds a different complexity of like, oh, I'm attacking this round, I'm defending. If you're playing against another I6, it adds it adds an extra element. So I would love for that to be the case versus just saying, oh, let's do a roll off at the beginning and who gets it gets it. So I like that part, and I like the added. It makes ace flying a lot more difficult, which I like. It makes certain cards like Sense, Cassian Endor, Intel Agent a lot more valuable because you need to protect your ace if you're moving first. And again, it just adds a different, your list building has to adjust to not just say, hey, I'm gonna advance, I'm gonna take my list from XTC. Like I had a 9-point bid, Sense, and repositioning. Like that's not going to be the case anymore because it's going to be like your advanced sensors may be completely useless. So it makes your list building a little bit differently. Which is not bad. Like I said, I think all of that is good. It forces every player, even the people that are playing Initiative 1s, Initiative 4s, Initiative 3s, or Initiative 6s, you're kind of at an even playing field. The part that I did not like about it was the punishment for not getting 200. Because they were saying, well, if you only built to 197, your opponent can only get 197. Your opponent can only destroy this amount, and that to me kind of showed a little bit of lack of understanding of the game. That's the way they phrased it, and they said in order to stop that from happening, those points are going to be given to your opponent from the beginning. They're going to start off with 3 points in the bank. So if you didn't put it in your list, now it's now they have 3 points to start, so that does the opposite. Now that forces you to get up to 200 points, because if I'm going to give you 3 points, I'm going to make you work for it. I'm going to make you roll some dice to get those 3 points. I'm not going to give it to you for free just because I can find the card to fit. So that part of it I don't like, because I don't mind having a points fortress like a Han Solo with regen or something like that. Like if your strategy is to do that, like, okay, that's your strategy. Maybe you're not moving last, but that's your strategy. But you can't you know, it just changes stuff. So I'm not a big fan of that little piece of it, but the random or alternating, making bids not matter. I think ultimately it's a good thing. I think, and the good players will still be good players. It doesn't make good players bad players because of it.
Will?
Yeah, I got two major points to talk about this. I guess the not included what I'm about to say is that I do. This is a thumbs up for me. Deficit points is something that I've always wanted. Never made any sense to me of why you got to sandbag those points for later. So overall, an improvement. I do like it. But two things that I'm known about it is that the more silly one is people, please, if you're gonna fill out your list to 200, start putting meme upgrades on it. Start putting the delayed fuses. If you got one extra point, drop a fuse on there.
I mean, they already got started with the hunted
Joy.
event.
Oh my god! Don't get me started on Joy. What?
We'll talk
What?
about that later. By the way,
Oh
we're
my God,
actually going to run a
good.
little mini tournament this weekend for free for anybody who wants to try out that hunted thing. We'll talk about it later. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh my god! I'll pour one out for everybody who gets Joy in that. Anyways, she was bidding up to 200 or whatever you want to call it. Anyways, I think that's hilarious that people are going to be putting useless upgrades on their ships. I don't like that. That's going to be a weird negative consequence of this, but whatever. Well, we all did in first edition. If you never just slapped on trick shot or whatever, jamming beams. If you never just, that's a more relevant reference. If you never just put jamming beams on a ship, you're not having fun. Like how I want to have fun in X-Wing. And my second point about the bits. This one's a little bit more serious. I have a lot of people that I'm seeing talking about ace play is dead because you cannot bid. And this goes back to, there's a local of mine who used to be diehard ace player. If he wasn't rocking triple ace, it wasn't flying a list. And one day we had a very deep conversation about his play style. And he was like, I'm going to rock a 14-point bid. I was like, 14? That's crazy. Like, you do not need a bid. And his reply was, if I cannot move after somebody, I will not win the game. Which I took that to heart. I mean, it was truthful in his opinion. But that gets me to people saying that if you can't bid, the decision for the game is decided on the coin flip. But if it was decided on a coin flip, that meant right now your win or lose is based on list building. So I don't think either one of those is correct, that you're going to lose on list building or lose on the coin flip. So I would want basically everybody to, what do I say? Keep that in mind. Keep that mindset that it will not be determined by that. That sometimes, what do I say? That you will have to outfly your opponent because you won't get your bid. I think that's a skill of the mid-tier players. A lot of people flying like a bunch of I3s or a bunch of I4s. If they're good at those I3s and 4s, they are good at moving after generics and moving before aces at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's actually, I think, a difficult skill to utilize because you have to be able to fly your list two different ways. So that's a long thing. That's a long rant to just say that ace players got to man up and start learning to block with your I6s if the ace is moving after you.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Let's point out a couple of relevant players that have played without a bid and still done well. Like our current our 2-time, 3-time reigning now, or Amertes, Oliver Packnell, only had a 2-point bid in his list, right? Had aces in his squad and did have to play moving before other people who had larger bids in other games. Like, is it going to be a change for the playing style? Yes, 100%. You will have to adapt. And Will, one thing I think that this does, I have been my number one thing when I've always talked about X-Wing, my favorite thing about X-Wing is that let's make the dial matter the most. And this change puts more stress on the dial rather than I get to boost and barrel roll after I see everything move. The dial decisions are going to matter more. And that's going to make the game more exciting. You might lose more games. That's okay. You'll adapt. Probably. I hope. Alrighty. Let's see. We hit bids. They talked about sideboards for events.
About what?
They just kind of dropped it. They're like, oh yeah, sideboards, and kept talking about something else.
We kind of have that capability with Sakatra Vizago right now, but it's never really used. I think they were going on with the fact that 200 points, you're gonna desire to make it all the way up to 200, but maybe we might offer a little bit of flexibility as to, you look across the table, you see a list, and you go, oof, maybe I might swap in this tool that I have here. Not that they might be implementing a sideboard in everything across the board. There may have upgrades or things, pilots that give you that opportunity.
Yeah. So we'll see what ends up coming of that. That might be more casual play. Who knows? That could be in their tournament regulations when that comes out. Could be interesting. Could be interesting in the list building, being able to tech things between rounds, or at least if something's not working in that second round, maybe you have something you can swap over to in terms of your upgrades. Should be interesting. And then they went over the next probably big thing in that they feel that they are modernizing the game by adding a ban list and a restricted list. And that's very interesting. If you don't know what they mean by that, let's go into it. So a ban list, meaning you are not allowed to use these upgrades. They were mistakes. We're sorry. They're gone. Okay? A restricted list is very common. This is especially in card games. It's probably the most. If you're familiar with any card games, they're really common. Essentially, like, oh, you can bring this, but only like one or maybe two, even though it might not have single pips or double pips. It's another lever for the game developers to try to balance the game. What is that going to look like? We don't know, but I'm curious to see where they're going to start from and how it adjusts over time. Because one of the things, and I kind of want to go back also, I want to go back to the bids, because this is kind of part of the same argument that kind of came into my head, is what I see AMG doing is with fresh eyes. I think all of us have seen that newer player that experiences the Initiative 6 moving after them all the time, that super broken upgrade, let's say advanced sensors on a Guri that moves last, and never having a chance in the game, right? There are these micro infractions of negative play experience that can stack up over time, and I feel like those are the threads that they're starting to pull to try to patch up some things. But I'm gonna be quiet there. Marcel, thoughts on these lists?
On these bans, you mean? Bans and restrictions?
Bans and restricted, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's long overdue. That's one of the things that I think FFG struggled with, and they tried to fix it with points, which was not a ban, but that was their way of saying, like, I'm going to price it out of being good. But as you can tell, like, even Supernatural, no matter how far you priced it, it can still be a negative experience. And it just makes a point fortress even just a more annoying point fortress. So I think it's a good thing. I think it'll be interesting to do some guesses of what the bans and restrictions will be. But I think I think you guys don't know what will be. But my way, I just want Sloan out of there. So just get Sloan out of here. Okay, where do we vote? Like I'm ready to vote on Sloan being gone.
I want to make a quick note here. I do see a couple people being like, "But don't we have hyperspace already?" Yes, hyperspace exists, but this doesn't mean that there can't be another thing. You know what I mean? Like, they can exist simultaneously, some type of curated format and some type of overall, like, this is just a no-go. Like, there can be more than one. I honestly think that there's likely space for 3 to 4 different type of formats that they could put together. I think we'll probably start with 2 and go from there. But, Ryan, I saw you had some thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, so the ban restricted list obviously helps them. So the restricted part's weird to think about because I feel like it's just them saying they're adding pips onto cards that don't already have them. Like if they're like, I think there should only be 1 copy of thermal detonators in lists. We're going to add that to the restricted list and add a number count to it because it doesn't already have pips. Like I think that's just another way of saying we're capability of putting pips to cards is a thing. But but it's also the fact that is going to be flexible, like you said, within formats. And maybe in one format it's restricted by X amount, but in another format it's not restricted. Bans, so at a casual level, obviously people can ignore ban lists and play whatever they want. I kind of hope for an organized play in most cases that bans are bans, gone. Not to be worried about development wise anymore if on a competitive level. It doesn't have to worry about breaking the game or anything with any combination. Free up space development wise. Marcel wants Sloan gone. I want supernatural reflexes gone.
Anything that messes with the dial, gone. Just burn it.
I'm a big proponent of anything that allows you to pre-reposition before your maneuver. Anything, and my next tier after that is anything that allows your opponent to look at your dial. Like dial peeking and pre-reposition stuff. You can get it out.
I mean, I agree. The dial is what makes the
system phase, though. You'd probably allow system phase, right?
System phase. So the thing with system phase is where those should exist. If advanced sensors was in system phase, fine. No big deal. If supernatural reflexes was in system phase, fine. Also, not too big a deal, right? It's because you've gained besides the potential of initiative order in that phase, system phase, you're not gaining full board-wide knowledge on position after maneuvers that other higher initiative ships would know, or even mid-tier initiative versus low initiative. So a lot of it's initiative-based and just having that knowledge, it's just too powerful, as we've seen.
Yeah. So, and I think one of the things about talking about these repositioning, looking at the dials is really what makes X-Wing unique and exciting. What birthed X-Wing into the world was the dial. Like, that single mechanic is what makes the game unique. Let's not mess with it. There's plenty of other things you could do. Leave the dial alone. Leave it alone. Then, is there anything else we want to talk about the lists before we continue here? So there's some more stuff.
About the ban list.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't know if we had really discussed the opinion that I don't think there should be a ban list. I thought that's why we had adjustable points in the first place.
Got it.
So
okay.
I don't understand the logic of that. If you want to make Sloan 25 points, go for it. Like, people like what do I say? Like, Luke Gunner still got played at like 30 points. So I don't understand that. If it is just points based. Right. Like, I know there's a lot of discussions about like limiting generics and things like that. But I don't see how you can't just outpoint something.
Like, so what's the purpose of it existing if you're going to outpoint it anyway?
I mean, because it's a legal card. I want to have the card available. It's the same reason like I like hyperspace, but it's the same reason why people don't like hyperspace. That I own this ship, I own this pilot, I own this crew card. I want to play it.
Yeah,
I mean-
and the other thing is, you mentioned pips on generics, and that's one thing that they did not specify ban and restriction, whether it's upgrades or pilots, because it might be a banned pilot, not a banned,
That's
not
true.
just a banned, upgrade. We were talking slow, supernatural, advanced sensors, but it could be, you know what, Zam is a badly designed card. Zam is out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could just be bad design space, wording that they'd have to redo too much and just have it be re-released in the card pack. So, Will, what about this, though, right?
Okay.
Say if they implement a ban list with the idea that they're going to re-release the card in a different capacity with updated to the new rules that they're trying to implement on top of a more reined in and not pointed out of existence type of thing. Like the example was, what if advanced sensors was in system phase?
Okay. So now I'm normally a positive person, but what you're forcing my hand here. The ban list is an easy way out. I think that you could find options like what you're suggesting is an errata. If we've already have errata cards in X-Wing right now, just errata the whole card, ban the original, which is essentially the same, and just errata the card so it works better. I just think it's the easy way out, and that's the nicest way of saying that.
I get you. I get you. I mean, because then you're also forcing somebody to buy the new thing, right? Is if they update it, and I get that. I get that. But I think I'm going to play devil's advocate just to kind of look at the other side of that. I have definitely been in situations as a TO that I say, well, that card doesn't work that way. It got errata, and people go, what? My card says this. Well, they have to go look at the website and all that. There's some arguments for wanting to get those things reprinted for some, for the purposes of not having to rely on the old, on a reprint that is like on a website that you have to reference. So that's just, again, just kind of looking at the other side of that coin.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
They talked about OP kits. Spoiler alert. But if they were going to give out, and if they're going to errata a card, and then they could give out for like prize support that errata card, so at least there'd be like out in the wild. I think, like I said, I think there's more options for them than just straight ban.
All right. Will doesn't like the ban list. We know. Alrighty. So as we continue here, they also talked about wanting to create competitive scenario play. Competitive scenario play. I don't know what that means. I guess, and this might just be like, we're so used to, well, I just got to score more points to win, right? So is competitive scenario play going to be like, you basically score more points in that scenario? The scenarios are more like some type of equal standard, like equal ways to score points. I'm trying to find the balance of how to figure out what they mean by that. Any thoughts?
I mean, it could be something like we play to 200 points scored, but there's like ways to score like 10 points here or 20 points there throughout the game. Maybe you got to be on a specific area of the map, something like that. And then once you've killed 160 points, you'll be like, oh, hey, I also got 40 points of victory points or objective points. So now the game is over because I have reached the total.
Got it. Okay. And this is just I know that they exist in other game systems. I just have never experienced them or really looked into them. So, all right, that makes sense. That makes sense. They also talked about, they said, let's talk about the future. Are they working on X-Wing stuff? Yes. They said, yes, we're working on stuff. Their timeline, about 24 months. And then they got into what I think is the next big hot button issue. And that is they started talking about standardized pilots. Standardized pilots that are built with specific upgrades built in, similar to that that card from the Ayla Secure. I'll go ahead and pull that up here. Similar to this, and that their cost in the game might actually, if you use their pre-built, might actually be cheaper than what the upgrades and pilot normally would cost, and even could have combinations that aren't normally possible in the what they call the customizable version of the pilot. Thoughts on that, Ryan?
It's a very interesting way to essentially bring what we've seen in the past, quick builds. Some people who may have just gotten X-Wing recently may not remember. Beginning of second edition, and with most of your releases, actually, there's a card that gives you, or card or two that gives you quick builds, and they have their own little point system that you utilize to build. They're pre-built ships with the pilots, the upgrades, and so on. It's interesting that they're integrating this into the regular list building to where you could get a ship, like you mentioned, whether it's upgrades, the pilot, slots that aren't normally available, that are going to be packaged together, and you can't switch anything in or out. It's all self-contained, so that theoretically it's easier to balance around too, because you don't have to worry about what else it could be put on it or take off of it, or the variable points it could have based upon upgrades you can remove or add. So I think it's an interesting wrinkle for sure, because you could say in a curated format, disallow the normal customized version of a pilot, but you could allow the standardized version. Say we want to let Vader TIE X1 back into hyperspace, assuming hyperspace is going to be the name of a future state of curated format. But we don't want you to fully customize them, because we also want afterburners in hyperspace. Say that was a thing that was restricted on Vader before. But here's the standardized Vader that has these specific upgrades that you have to stick with. I think that's another level that they can do to help curate and set formats or list building restrictions for also these scenarios. If there's a scenario that says we'd like to have this pilot in this scenario, but we can't really have all these upgrades available to them or these slots that they have, so let's just give the standardized one the option.
I just had a thought. Will, going back to the ban list here, just I want to touch just on it just a little bit, What if literally they made it, the ban list is a way for them, if they make one of these that's too good, they go, that one's on the ban list, we screwed up, aka Supernatural Vader from the first edition quick build, from the initial second edition quick builds, right? They could just take their mistakes and throw it in the trash.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Sure.
Now, okay, and here's the other part. Is my understanding is that they're saying that this is not going to replace customizing ships. This is simply going to be another option, because let's be honest, I have never, outside of the very first Gen Con event with quick builds, I've never done quick builds after that, because they're unbalanced. They don't the number of pips on them don't make sense a lot of times with what the current points are. They just without them being able to be adjustable points wise, they don't make sense to me. So I've never used them.
Yeah, I like this a lot. If it's a way for you to get a discount, either for you to get a discount or you to get a combination that normally would not be available because this ship does not have this slot, so now there's a way to get the slot. Or if they said, like they said, if you buy this group deal, you're gonna get a discount, and you can get a ship that would probably be 75 points. Building it together, you can get it at 65 for playing this exact version. I like that. And you can mess around with the points and make it tournament legal. I think that's all positive. I like that a lot.
All right, then they also, let's see, what was the next thing?
Before we get too far,
Yeah.
because I think we might have missed this earlier. Speaking of points, when they talked about the fact that the points update is coming as well with the rules updates later this month, they said that this points update across the board is going to be one of the largest shifting changes of X-Wing 2nd Edition. Most people were just assuming, little touch here, bring Zam down here. Apparently, they're reaching far and wide on this one and re-looking at the identity of the faction was one definite phrase they went over.
Yeah, I mean they're planning on going big. They're planning on going really big, and I'm curious, and that's why I'm not surprised. Initially, we the very first thing we heard from AMG for like a last points update was going to be in the middle of the summer, right? Middle of the summer. Something changed. Something changed in their philosophy, in their design thoughts, their path for the game, where they've wanted to make a bigger overhaul. And I'm guessing that also has to do with fitting in this the new stuff that we have coming out. I mean, we have the Resistance Y-Wings, we have the TIE Whisper. I'm assuming that we're going to get the points when those come out. So that's September 24th was the date that they have marked for that. And that's when I'm assuming we're going to get it in 2 weeks. They said towards the end of the month. And yeah, I mean that's what we got to see there.
There's also just the sheer fact that they now have to design around the fact that there are no more bids. So how does that shift Ace's in their mindset? They could decide to change points because of that. Not saying it's right or wrong, but that's where they could go if they think it's necessary.
I don't know. I don't see the difference in Aces because just like Qui-Gon said, there could be always somebody there's always a bigger bid. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm always a proponent of not bidding anyway, so it's no difference for me. I'm just pointing out that could be something they look at as a reason to shift some points.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong. I just don't understand the correlation. That's all. We could use a big shakeup though. We've been sitting on these points for a while. All year? Is that right? I know they shifted some hyperspace stuff around. But we're still in the meta when we got 22-point Z's and 25-point Seeks, right?
Yep.
When the 3 dice strikers and interceptors went down to 31 points, we're still technically in that season, right? We haven't got an update since then.
That sounds right.
I guess the only update or at least so the points update, back last year November, but obviously meta shakeups and things because of new ships and things added, such as the last of the original trilogy squad packs.
I fixed it,
which was in April, right?
Sit down.
There you go, everybody. I just want to calm all the triggered people when we kept bringing up the image. This is just some woosah for you, okay?
Yeah, I don't understand why they chose this pilot for their standardized. If they want a simple build for people, this has more words on it than anything else you could make.
The Ace is high.
This
is the Ace format. This is one of the cards that they were using for it. Not that this couldn't exist as a standardized though.
Outrageous. I don't know. I got a lot of opinions on this card, but it looks so much better now with 3 bullseye. Thank you.
I mean, it's the little things that count. AMG, that one's for free. This one's for free. Okay.
Just let us know. Just let us know if you need more help.
That's right. I mean, we'll continue here. They also talked about, so they said customized versus standardized loadouts. That's going to be interesting. And then they said that there is another card pack coming that focuses on themed battle packs, is what they said, in quotes. They said there's going to be a Battle of Yavin and the Siege of Coruscant. And there's going to be, I think they said 10 pilots in each. Does that sound like right? That's what I wrote down. 10 pilots in each. That sounds interesting. I'm assuming, did they, and this is what I'm starting to get a little foggy because they were kind of rushing it there at the end. Were these going to end up being this type of loadout pilots? I think that's what they were saying.
Yeah, I think it's like a pre-built scenario. Like you buy a pre-built scenario and you get your, okay, these are your Rebel side, this is your Imperial side. They already have pre-loadouts on both sides, and this is the scenario. So it's like it's a scenario. It's Imperial Assault. It's like, here's your scenario. Here's what you got to accomplish. Here's your characters with what they have on it. And I think they also said it like it's again, the reason I went to Imperial Assault because they also talked about it kind of like RPG mode where you play it and you build, like Heroes of the Atari Cluster where you build.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, but I heard, I don't know, were they two different things? Because I heard it as part of the same conversation. Maybe they were two separate conversations, but I heard this part as part of the same conversation as like that's why my mind goes to Imperial Assault, where
I wrote it as two separate. I wrote it as two separate things. It seemed like two separate things. Which let's go ahead and hit on that. Campaign. They said they are working on a campaign system, and immediately the entire chat started yelling, HOTAC! If you don't know what that is, Heroes of the Atari Cluster was a campaign system that was made years ago by the designer of the current Star Trek Attack Wing campaign. I will have you know, Attack Wing, I don't know if he pitched it to them and they bought it, but they ended up buying it from him, that system. But let's talk about it. Campaign. I will tell you, an official campaign that I can buy in a box, I am like super pumped for that. I think that sounds awesome. Will, you're like our RPG guy. Thoughts?
Yeah. No, I'm in on that. Like, I'm in more on when you say like narrative play. This is where my mind goes. I'm not thinking of kicking around a droid ball. Right, I'm thinking of, a nice full-fledged like intro of like the heroes of the rebellion go to intercept the Imperials, but and then if you play out this more of a story than just some dogfighting, and I think that could be really interesting, especially if you can get a couple friends in there. And now you're making hard choices, like the dramatic interactions of like, I gotta leave you behind, buddy. I gotta go get the objective. It was like, no, don't leave me behind. And then someone's like, no, I'll do it. I'll make the heroic sacrifice. Like, this seems like very cool interactions that are beyond regular X-Wing. That would be very enjoyable between friends. And then obviously anybody who's done like RPG, but it was more like character building, where you're building your stats, and you have a history now. And I can look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember when I got that ion cannon. It's when I did the trench run perfectly or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I very much will enjoy a heavily story-based narrative. Because like I said, that's what goes in my mind, is the I want a story, because I just make them up always by myself.
Right.
But like, it would be nice to have like some good intros to these missions. I mean, you guys did. We reference it a lot, but the community scenarios. I had a very similar thing. They gave you a story about the decimator coming out of hyperspace and things like that. And I think that is really what can get you in that Star Wars mindset, and not just going through the mechanics.
And I think it could also be a great entry point for someone who maybe eventually ends up getting into the tournament scene, because they're just like, hey, low risk. Especially if the campaign is co-op, you have ways to play with other people. That's a perfect way to get somebody in this game. If we're trying to build a player base, a campaign box is a fantastic way to do it. One of the most popular games I've seen like fly off the shelves are these games that have like different seasons, and they you buy a box and you kind of
legacy games.
Yeah, legacy games where you're kind of like building through this game, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure type of thing. I think it could be really really great. I like this. Nano Antonio, Dungeons and Dogfighting. Exactly. Alrighty, and one of the last things that they talked about, 1.0 reprints. It's a long-term project. They said they're rededicating themselves to it. Gumboat's in the chat. I mean, I think it's good. And I think... Go ahead.
The question that I had is, I don't know if they were referring to 1.0 reprints or remakes. So were they talking about, like you said, like gunboats or other things that have not been in production, which they already have the models for? They've had they already have things available for, unless they're updating them like they did with the X-Wings, and they have like the moving foils and stuff like that? Or is it taking old, bring Carnage X back, old pilots and bringing them back? Tweak?
No, but, not here with your tweak.
So it was literal reprints, like taking ships that haven't been sold and just making them again?
So that we don't know. We don't know what they meant by that. My understanding is, I mean, they have all the stuff that was done in the conversion kit. Though, here's a little speculation for you, okay? A little speculation, little idea hunting here. Ryan, I'd like to know your thoughts on this as well. They could use the opportunity to... They can use what they have the model already. They don't have to do any sculpting, how to repaint it if they don't want to. But when it comes to the cards, they could add something in addition to what was in the what am I called? Conversion kits. They could add more than what was in there, especially if there's something that they find problematic. Because one of the things that we don't know is with this ban list, restricted list, hyperspace potential yes, no, is they talked about these different kind of limited formats. They never mentioned extended. Like that didn't come up in their conversation at all. So their plan for re-releases could also be getting all of those, what we now kind of think of as extended ships, back into the game, and will eventually, hopefully, be in a spot where like extended now just means everything that's been released in second edition, and their curated formats are now other things. Because right now, what we have a lot of the battle between extended and limited formats is people being like, I want to play with my old ships. There's just kind of that thought. And I get it. You bought it. You want to play with it. I get it. But I think eventually the hope is to be able to cycle that through and not have to worry about the conversion kit, not use phobia type of thing. Ryan?
Yeah, so I had a similar mindset, is that this gives them the opportunity to take any of the conversion kit cards of pilots or ships and say, that's the old stuff. It's gone. It's on the ban list. We would like to introduce to you K-Wings that have a chassis ability. Or so on and so forth, a redesigned resistance bomber. Ships can now, they can add other things in new design space to ships that didn't have chassis abilities. And a lot of ships do have chassis abilities right now. Not all of them do, but large majority of new ones are getting them. So it's an opportunity to release with the intent of new involved, not just here's the model with all the cards you got in the conversion kit, so the new players who don't have the models can get them too. I hope that that's a road that they're looking to go down instead of just re-release, same stuff from the conversion kit, nothing new.
I know, Ryan. I'm on the boat with I want new stuff. To be completely honest, like I think that if they can just do small tweaks here and there, I think it's okay. And I know that some people are citing but FFG said when they re-released they weren't going to change anything. I will tell you already that promise was broken. The in that same sentence was the promise of not having to buy a certain pack for certain upgrades. That's out the window, fam. The Separatist fire spray is your clue that if you want the Zam crew for your scum and villainy, you got to get that Separatist ship. Now coming up, if you want the child for Rebels or Imperial, you're going to have to get a Razor Crest. Like that's how this is going to work. It has to be that way. So if it's going to be that way already, I'm just thinking about this, a 3-year timeline where they're like, all right, we have this 3-year timeline. We're going to re-release all these ships. In 3 years, they're re-releasing who knows what ship from the conversion kit. Why wouldn't you want something new then?
It sounds like a great opportunity. And they kind of did it with the bombs. I call it bombs away. That's not the word. That's not what that pack is called. But the bombs and obstacles pack. And then the new pilots pack, Hot Shots and Aces.
Yeah.
Like those had upgrade cards that were essentially faction locked up until that point.
Right.
And then they gave you a more generic way of doing it. I always hoped that they would make those yearly, that they would have like a yearly pack maybe every 2 years. They would give you a pack with those multi-faction cards. Because I do agree, it's the Pokemon Red and Blue shenanigans is not great. We see through you, FFG and AMG. Trained on this stuff as a child. All right, I see you. But I think that they could just make a product that just sells these separately.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Ebok the Cat brings up a very important point, and this is something that we haven't talked about the money side, but it's very true. The reprints without new stuff did happen, and they were canceled. Why do things get canceled? Because they're not making the money. And ultimately, it's a business, right? So I wasn't surprised when I was sad that they weren't doing the reprints, but at the same time, like I knew me and all of my friends who already owned like the first edition version of it and got a conversion kit. I had no reason to buy the second edition version unless there was something new in it. And then I would, even if there was one card new, I would grovel. I'd go, oh man, I got to get this because this card. Oh well, and then do it because I'm into it for the game. And yeah, I have a problem, and that's my problem, and that's okay. All right, you limit that by doing things by like playing one faction or something. All right, so
Dion, just to make sure we cover the basis, Chat was mentioning a whole bunch because you specifically point out Zam crew. Now,
she came in the box.
Zam did come out in the Scum pack.
I still had to buy that box to get Zam. How about that? Okay?
You had to buy the box, and it came later. So Zam crew still was found out to be pretty good even before that came out. People who in Scum needed to pick up that pack timely if say COVID wasn't a thing and there were events to go to and people wanted to get Zam crew, they would have to buy a Separatist pack. Another good example, tracer missiles. They didn't come in everything for the beginning. They started trickling in a wave, and people in other factions, since a missile could be used anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Even the upcoming electro chaff missile thing, that's going to be only available in the big first order. That might be available in the Y-Wing one too, because it does have a missile slot with the wartime load up. But either way, you're going to have to buy a sequel faction box to get that card. So that's long gone, like you said.
Oh, you know what? Actually, Benfit brings up the perfect conversion card, the Moldy Crow. Rebel conversion kit only. And so, in another thought coming up is when they do reprints, I really think they should be doing like double packs. I do agree with that. Will, you were talking about those boxes. I want to see more boxes. I think that's the way to do it. You want to re-release them, put some new spice, get some repaints in there. Let's go. Alrighty. Well, I mean, though we hit all of the major points. Marcel, is there anything from that is still cucando? Like, is there something else that's still like kind of scratching at you that you wanna get off your chest?
Yeah, I think for me, and again, the opposite of a filthy casual. So
Try hard.
Can't
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah,
Sorry, by the way, I'm getting corrected. It was
yeah.
also in Hot Shots and Aces. I'm sorry. Yes, they had to re-release that later on. Initially, come on, give me a break. All right, continue.
Yeah. So for me, it seems to me like a lot of their focus, a lot of their attention, even just the way that things go. Yeah. Again, I don't want this to be as a negative because I think the majority of what I heard was positive. There's a couple things I don't like, but I think overall, I think it's positive. And even the things that are negative, I think that in the formats that I like to play, the TOs will have enough flexibility to make do with with some of the stuff that probably doesn't match well with the type of games that I like to play. But it seems like their mind is like you can tell the influence of where their passion lies. Even with how much time and emphasis was spent on like the artwork and the painting, and even when we're talking about like I'm buying 5 of these because I want to repaint them, or just how much let's look at the sketches, let's look at the artwork, so how much emphasis was put on the art, on the painting of the models, things like that, which to me I mean that's nice that they're doing that, and that's a passion for some folks, not for me. I mean, I have a lot of painted ships and I love them and I play them over the non-painted ones, but you can put a brick on it, and as long as that brick is still like doing the game element of it, that's what's important to me. And that's a little concerning, and also how much emphasis is being placed on the people that are picking up the game for the first time or playing in the kitchen table, which is fine. I understand you have to cultivate that new player base, but how much emphasis is going to that versus the people that are basically spending? I mean, I've got 2 complete boxes here, which I know you guys do as well. Maybe $1,500, $2,000 worth of plastic ships here, because I like the competitive side of it. I like the tournaments. I like going and traveling and meeting people all across the country or around the world. I didn't see enough excitement. It was more of a throwaway. It was like, yeah, don't worry, there's going to be a Worlds. Yeah, don't worry, there's going to be. But their excitement, when their face lit up, when they got really excited and they perked up, was anytime they talked about a new weird narrative format, about the droid soccer, or about painting or the artwork. So that's where I'm still concerned about the longevity of the game in the areas that I'm passionate about. It's not I don't see a full alignment with what they're passionate about versus what I like.
I feel you there, man. That makes a lot of sense, and I would agree. I think
I want to retort a little bit. I know it's your opinion. I want to let you fully emphasize everything, but I would get the feeling why they weren't excited about some of the organized play aspect is because of COVID. They wanted to. It sounded like they really did want to put Worlds back into place later in the year. COVID restrictions are a real thing right now, and they thought it was going to be in a lot better place. It's not, unfortunately. So I guess it's hard to be excited about something they can't have a definitive answer or give a hype about directly because it's not going to happen at a guaranteed moment.
Sure. The reason I'm saying that, even when they said that, they said it as a throwaway, because even when they're talking about moments that they don't know will happen because of COVID, their face lit up when they talked about narrative or other things at tournaments. It's just the passion that they have. Their passion, the games that they develop, Marvel Crisis Protocol and things like that, where they spend their time on their streams. I'm saying the passion, what drives them, like what's at their core of what they enjoy, seems to be more in casual play, painting, artwork, narrative, storytelling. Which again, it's not bad. It's just it's not my lane. So that's where it's somebody's lane, not necessarily mine.
I feel you. Yeah, that is a very, very real thing. And I think, Marcel, you're coming from the idea of the public face of what people see of X-Wing has really been built on the competitive play aspect, right? And that is what a lot of the driving force for the outreach ends up being. So the question might be that if there is less focus on the competitive play, what are you ignoring the people who have held up your game for since the beginning? Is that kind of where you're coming from, Marcel?
Yeah. You have people that play casually, come in and out, and there's people that play and they'll play for a year, they'll buy some stuff and they'll come and go. But the people that stick around, the people that spend, again, thousands of dollars versus hundreds of dollars, are the people that are involved in and care about the competitive play. Even if they're not playing at the competitive level to try to be number one and be world champion, they're still at the competitive environment where they're going to tournaments. Even if they're going 2-4 like that, they're still going for that competitive element and being part of that competitive atmosphere that drives it. So that's where I was going, I think. But I think you might have said the same thing. So yes.
Awesome. Well, before we head out, one of the things I had put up on Discord, and before we do our closing thoughts, is one of the things they didn't talk about on the stream was their hunting season global event that they announced yesterday. And I know I saw a lot of annoyance on the post. I guess I want to hit both the positive and negative side of it, as well as give you my thoughts on it. First, should they have announced it earlier? Yes. Why? Because a lot of the X-Wing community likes to be involved, right? We want to feel like we are in cahoots with AMG, and it feels like a little bit of a disconnect if you didn't plan to go to the game store this weekend or whatever. So I 100% understand the people who have that feels bad. If I wanted to be a part of it, why didn't you tell me earlier? I get it. I do wonder if their numbers, their assumption of people being able to jump on it quickly may have been skewed, and it may have been my fault. And I say that because in the last one of these that they did, that they gave us a sub day and a half notice, was the weekend of a Galaxies event. All right. And I had told all the players, hey, go ahead and submit. Don't use the special rules, but go ahead and submit that you played, because they said that the special rules were optional. Submit their forms so that you could unlock the next phase of this and all that, and to kind of give a thumbs up to AMG, like, hey, we're helping you out, right? I think that their overall participation number is going to go down because I don't have a big tournament this weekend, but I did see a lot of people in our Discord saying, I want to try this. I don't plan on going to the game store this weekend, or my friends are busy. So what we're going to do is tomorrow, normally we stream on Saturday mornings anyway, we're going to go ahead and run a free, 100% free mini event, 3 rounds, in and out, and you can play 2. It doesn't really matter. There's no prizes for this, but we want to give people an opportunity to play with other ones by running an event. So we're going to go ahead and we'll post the link. You can just go ahead and join it. There's no it's not like a Galaxies event where you need to, wait for sign up and all that stuff. So if you want to play in it, we're going to run it for you guys tomorrow. 9 a.m. Be on our Discord channel in the voice. We'll take up to 148 people because I really don't want to manage more than that. But be on the Discord, GSP Discord. If you don't have the link, ! Discord, or if you're watching this later on YouTube in the next hour or so, ! Discord, or click the link in the description below. It's on Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. I said tomorrow. Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. Saturday. It's on Saturday. Saturday, 9 a.m. Okay, so the link for the special rules are on the TTT page. We'll go ahead and put that. It's hunting season. Again, this is going to be a very casual event. Okay, I'm not going to over police. This is, if you want to participate with the rules, you're going to be expected to play with the rules, and that's what we're doing. And I'm going to read them over myself to double check. And it's going to be a little bit weird, but it also gives us an opportunity to stream 3 games of this for funsies and just have some fun there. So, and of course, if do rounds have oh no, we're going to play normal 75 minutes. I ain't doing none of that 12 round stuff. We're going to play 75 minutes. Go. We're just here to play and get going, because I got stuff. This is by the way, tomorrow's my birthday. It's my birthday weekend. So we're just going to hang out. We're going to play some X-Wing. And when we're done with the 3rd round, we're done. Okay? So I am just here to facilitate some fun for y'all. Okie dokie. If you guys want to participate, that's cool. Again, it's up on TTT. We're going to post it on our Discord as well. Anybody is free to join. Alrighty. Let's go some closing thoughts here. Will, last things you wanna touch on. Give me the favorite thing you heard today, and one piece of advice or something you're critical that you heard.
Okay.
A plus delta is what I want. I want a plus delta. I was trying to find the words for that.
That's okay. So the best thing I heard, which was something that I called them out, that said that they didn't have the initiative to do so, which was the deficit points, which was great to hear. Deficit bid points, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about. So that was crazy. Did not expect that at all. I know, Marcel, get out of here. Fill the 200. Get your fuses.
Bye.
Yeah, buy your fuses. Put them on your ships. Come on. All right. And then the thing I'm critical about. Okay. And I think that is the ban list. I do not think that is the optimal way to handle challenging cards. And I wish that they would have looked at albeit more difficult options to solve that problem. So I'm a little disappointed in that.
Marcel? Plus delta.
So I'm going to go complete opposite.
Delta plus.
My favorite was the ban and restricted list. I think that's I think that's going to open up a lot of building and design space that doesn't, like, they're not cornered in. So that I think that's a great call. The worst thing, the most critical thing, again, for me, I already talked about it, so I'm not going to go over it again, is where I feel that their passion and their drive is as a company seems to be in an area that I hope that they don't forget about the rest of us.
You're going in a place I cannot follow.
Hey.
Memes. All right. Sorry, I couldn't help it. Ryan.
So the short version is I'm suspect about the round limit, in their eyes, seen as a way to finalize a game more fulfilling than a time limit at this point. I kind of still see them as is particularly the same thing either way. You're just changing the number and how it's distributed. But overall, I think my biggest long-term concern becomes all these changes and updates, as we've talked about them, have potentially opened up a lot of windows of opportunity of design, format, building, scenarios. It's a lot, and they don't have a big team. We know this. But they're, as I talked to, I think they spoke very well during this event or during this stream. I'm hopeful, looking forward to what they could make with it. But I could see where they could fall short on some stuff, on people's hopes. So I keep my hopes up on that. If you didn't get a chance to watch the stream, I think it's actually worth the entire watch. I think actually, Marcel, you mentioned on previous things from AMG, some of their stream and professionalism production was pretty low bar before. I don't know if I don't say for sure if we can all agree, because there were a lot of debates among us generally, but I think we can all agree this was well done.
Yeah, I second that.
This was very well done.
A huge improvement, especially if in their like to not be a high production during the mini extravaganza would be detrimental. So yeah. I think we're all in agreement.
And they touched on way more than I ever expected. We were all expecting parts and pieces and small things here and there. Even some of the small stuff, like we didn't get the points update that a lot of people thought we would, but the tease of just the fact of how big it's going to be with the impact of the rules changes. The rules changes massive. So there were a lot of hard-hitting, big stuff across the board. That felt like 2 hours. It was only an hour. I was surprised they got in all that stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot. I'll go a little more lighthearted with my plus here. They announced a Gauntlet. I like that ship. It looks awesome. I'm excited to buy a bunch of them and put them on for Paint Wars, and also probably get a couple repainted for myself. I think that's going to be awesome. As for my most critical thing, you know what? I'm going to be super selfish in this one. Them bamboozling me with Adepticon. All right? I'm just going to be selfish. I'm curious. Call a brother. Not going. You know what? And hold up. Before I say this out loud, let me go ahead and just check something real quick.
Yeah, check your emails.
That's exactly where I'm going first. I'm
referencing what you're doing at Adepticon, that there will be X-Wing played at Adepticon, because it seemed to heavily be worded that they were running a tournament at Adepticon.
That's what it sounded like.
And
all right.
Simone is like the person who says things, you know what I mean? So like she shouldn't have wrong information.
That's what I'm saying. So I haven't got a response on that, because here's the thing. Adepticon came to me, and then I went to AMG. It was like, AMG, hey, were you guys planning on doing something? Radio silence. So then Adepticon was like, Dion, you got this? I'm like, all right, let's go. But now they're saying that they got it. So whatever. You know what? You know what I'm happy about? There's going to be X-Wing at Adepticon, as there should be. And that right there, that is the way. So that's our wrap up for today. Thank you, everybody who tuned in today for our whatever this was. This is a podcast episode. We're just going to call this a podcast episode. Episode 253? 4? I don't know. We've been doing this a long time. I'll look up the number later. And, of course, if you want to participate in the hunting season, our little mini thing we're putting together on Saturday, join us. It's completely free. All you have to do is be on Discord at 9 a.m. Central Time, and you can be a part of it. And we're going to do it through TTS. And if you can only play one round and you want to drop afterwards, that is completely fine. If you want to do 2 rounds, that's cool. There's no prizes. It's literally just let's have some fun and try this thing out. Submit some results for AMG so that we could see what the next section of it is, because they're going to unlock the different abilities as they go for funsies, and just have some fun with it. That's the whole point of this weekend. We'll stream 3 of the games, and then yeah, that's the plan. So Thanks for watching, everybody. For everybody here at Gold Squadron, be smart, be safe. Gold Squadron out. I need that thanks for watching screen. I
Man.
missed the...
Do you?